On a day that will forever be etched in history, the world witnessed a historic moment as Cardinal Luis Antonio Tagle, the Archbishop of Manila, ascended to the papacy, becoming the first Filipino and Asian Pope in the history of the Catholic Church. The collective gasp of astonishment that echoed across St. Peter's Square, the white smoke rising from the Sistine Chapel, and the joyful cheers from across the globe marked the beginning of a new chapter in the 2,000-year-old history of Catholicism. For the first time, the papacy was no longer just a European or South American tradition, but a truly global one. Cardinal Tagle, known for his warmth, humility, and deep spirituality, was elected as the leader of the world's 1.3 billion Catholics. The election of Cardinal Tagle was a monumental shift, not just within the Catholic Church, but for the entire Christian world. It signaled the changing demographics of Catholicism. For centuries, the papacy had been dominated by figures from Europe and South America. However, in this moment, the heart of the Church was now beating in Asia, in the Philippines, a country that has long been a center of Catholic life in Asia. The election of Pope Tagle, a son of Asia, was more than just a political or religious event. It was a symbol of hope and a recognition of the emerging influence of the Church in the developing world. The weight of history rested heavily on Pope Tagle's shoulders. As the first Filipino and Asian to hold the highest office in the Catholic Church, expectations were high. Could he bridge the divide between the West and the East? Could he bring unity to a divided world, filled with social, economic, and political challenges? The world held its breath as this humble, compassionate, and visionary man was elevated to lead a church that was undergoing tremendous transformation. From the very beginning of his papacy, it was clear that Pope Tagle was not just a product of his upbringing or of his personal convictions. He was the embodiment of the Catholic Church's core mission to serve the poor, the marginalized, and the oppressed. His humility and simplicity were not just personal virtues, but a reflection of the vision he had for the Church. It was a church that would not just speak to the powerful, but also reach out to those on the fringes, the people society often overlooked. His papacy was a commitment to ensuring that the Church remained relevant in the 21st century by addressing the needs of a rapidly changing world. Pope Tagle's journey to the papacy was not an overnight success. Born in 1957 in the bustling city of Manila, he was raised in a deeply religious family where his parents instilled in him a strong sense of faith and social justice. He grew up with a love for the Church, deeply committed to the teachings of Christ and to helping others, particularly those who were suffering. His academic background was equally impressive, earning a degree in philosophy from the Jesuit-run Ateneo de Manila University, and later a doctorate in theology from the Catholic University of America. But it was his pastoral heart, his deep connection with the people, and his unshakable commitment to the poor that set him apart. Throughout his ministry, Cardinal Tagle worked tirelessly to serve those in need. His work with street children, victims of human trafficking, and the homeless in the Philippines earned him a reputation as a champion for the poor. He was not just a theologian. He was a shepherd of souls, always ready to listen, to console, and to lead. His ability to connect with people from all walks of life, his warmth, and his genuine concern for others made him beloved by millions. His rise through the ranks of the Church, from parish priest to bishop to Archbishop of Manila, was swift but grounded in a deep sense of humility. In 2011, Cardinal Tagle was appointed Archbishop of Manila, a role that would see him responsible for one of the largest Catholic populations in the world. As Archbishop, he continued his work with the poor, establishing programs for street children, the homeless, and victims of human trafficking. His compassion extended far beyond his local parish, and he became a figure of hope for millions of Filipinos and for Catholics worldwide. His commitment to social justice was not just about charity, it was about working for systemic change. He recognized that the Church had a responsibility not only to care for the poor, but to challenge the structures of injustice that perpetuated poverty, inequality, and suffering. Cardinal Tagle's election to the papacy was a moment of immense joy and celebration, especially in the Philippines. The news spread like wildfire, and Filipinos around the world erupted in celebration. From the crowded streets of Manila to the remote villages in the mountains, people danced, sang, and wept, tears of joy. Social media was flooded with messages of congratulations, trended worldwide. This was not just a triumph for the Catholic Church, it was a victory for the Filipino people, for Asia, and for the marginalized everywhere. World leaders, religious figures, and people of all faiths expressed their admiration for Pope Tagle. They praised his intellect, his humility, his unwavering commitment to the poor, and his ability to bring people together. The Vatican was abuzz with excitement as cardinals, bishops, and priests expressed their admiration for their new pope. His election was seen as a sign of continuity, a continuation of the values of mercy, compassion, and dialogue that had come to define the papacy of Pope Francis. The significance of an Asian pope was not lost on anyone. For the first time in the history of the Catholic Church, the papacy had moved beyond the confines of Europe and South America to Asia. This was a monumental shift, not just for the Church, but for the entire Christian world. It symbolized the growing importance of the Catholic faith in Asia, a continent that had long been seen as a mission field rather than a center of the Church's power. Pope Tagle's election was a recognition of the importance of the developing world in the life of the Church. As an Asian, Pope Tagle brought with him a unique perspective, one that was deeply rooted in the cultures, philosophies, and religions of the East. His deep understanding of Asian societies and his commitment to interreligious dialogue made him an ideal candidate for this new role. His papacy symbolized the Church's commitment to embracing the diversity of the global Church and reaching out to people of all backgrounds, cultures, and religions. Pope Tagle's vision for the Church was one that focused on the core message of the gospel: love, compassion, and service. He envisioned a church that was not inward-looking but outward-reaching. He wanted a church that embraced the margins, that stood with the poor, the oppressed, and the forgotten. He frequently spoke about the need for the Church to be a force for change, working to create a more just and equitable world. This vision resonated deeply with the global Church, and many saw Pope Tagle as the ideal leader to usher in a new era of Catholicism. His legacy of compassion was well established long before his election to the papacy. Throughout his ministry, in the Philippines and abroad, Pope Tagle had been a tireless advocate for the poor, the vulnerable, and the marginalized. His work with street children and his advocacy for refugees and migrants were just a few examples of his lifelong commitment to social justice. He was a voice for the voiceless, calling for greater empathy and understanding for those suffering from poverty, persecution, and violence. As Pope, Tagle's commitment to social justice continued. He was determined to ensure that the Catholic Church remained relevant in a rapidly changing world.